People say, Mark, that rather like a boxing match, when you have a good fight, it's because the two fighters sort of suit each other. Do you think it was the same last night, that suddenly, because Reading are the sort of team that play the way they do, and they are quite open at home, that is just manna from heaven for Arsenal? Was it as simple as that? Or did Arsenal actually play a lot better than they normally do?
I think Arsenal played well in the first half. I think they looked shaky at the start of the second half. But what surprised me most, and was the talk among the press box last night, was the formation that Brian McDermott adopted. And playing 4-4-2 against Arsenal is quite an ambitious thing. And I just think if he'd matched them up and played 5 across the middle, packed out the midfield, it would have been a very...
We changed it at half-time, he said afterwards.
A bit late when you're 4-0 down, though, to be fair.
Yeah, well...
3-0 down.
Well, not with Arsenal. Arsenal were 4-0 down, weren't they?
Yeah, I think...
And they won.
If you could have picked a team that you wanted to play, if you're in a bit of a crisis, which obviously drawing against Bradford and going out in the Cup, Reading would have been the team, and away from home. Because if Arsenal, I think they scored the first goal in the 15th or 16th minute. But if Arsenal would have gone 15, 20 minutes now playing at the Emirates, then the crowd would have got a little bit edgy, and then that can transfer itself onto the players. The one thing that I think that gave Cazorla and Jack Wilshere and Arteta in midfield the space is because Theo Walcott played up front, because the threat of his pace, it stretched the game, because Reading had to sit a bit deeper, whereas if you haven't got any pace up front, then you can go and press Arsenal and try and close them down. But obviously the Reading back four were wary that, especially away from home, that Arsenal went on the counter-attack. So Theo playing through the middle actually elongated the game. So that gave the Arsenal midfield.
Well, we'll talk about Walcott and his situation and his position on the pitch, etc., and his future. First of all, here's Arsene Wenger talking about the match, having won 5-2 at Reading.
The target was to win, and we won in a convincing way. And we could only give one answer: is on the football pitch, and we played football. Success came with the quality of our game.
What pleased you most about your team's performance?
But we played, and didn't bother about all the rest. Focused on the quality of our game and played. And I think it was just in the continuity of the game we played against West Brom. And that's what we did again tonight.
He'll be happy that they've won, quite convincingly.
Just takes pressure off.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
And Chelsea have flown back in the country. So
no. You and your anti-Chelsea.
No, it's not that. No, there's always a big club in crisis, isn't there?
Always, there has to be. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a job.
But at big clubs, if you don't win for 2 games, then you are going to be put on the white stripe. Chelsea's, they were like in the sort of box seat. Then they get a win, and then they fly off for a week. Then Arsenal. So Chelsea will come back. If they don't win tomorrow night against Leeds, then it's going to be. They'll be under pressure. So it was Arsenal's turn, and all he's done is looked at it and thought, as long as we win, then it just takes the pressure off a little bit. And if you look at their next 4 fixtures, Wigan, West Ham, we don't have the games off or on because of the tube strike. Newcastle, Southampton, Arsenal. Something happens with Arsene. He always seems to get himself out of trouble. If he needs a result, like not this season, last season against Spurs, they were like 1-0 down, and then they end up winning 5-2. Takes the pressure off, and he's got this little run of games here where you think, actually, yeah, you could...
Do you want him to leave? I know you support Arsenal, boy and man. Do you feel like his time is up now?
I think what's happened is, when I said before, his judgment on players from 1996 to 2005, he got 80% right, where he's getting these uncut diamonds. From then on, he's gone under 50%.
Or everyone else is going in for the same players now.
The same players because they've got scouts all around the world. If you replace Arsene Wenger, the policy has to change, because whoever you bring in, if you're still going to keep a wage structure of £90,000 a week and you're going to sell your best players, it doesn't matter who you have managing, they're still going to be in that 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Now, if you change your wage policy and your structure, and then you say to Arsene, actually, yeah, you can go out and be in the market to get the best players, then you have to give him the benefit of that. I just think what there's done is a bit of complacency there. I just like, I want them to be put under pressure, because 7 years at a massive club like Arsenal is a long time. I don't think there's any other club in the world where you could go 7 years and not win a trophy, not even a Carling Cup, what it was, or a Capital One Cup. If he was to be replaced, he won't. It would be on his terms. He'll walk himself. The only one when I said to Al, well, who would you get to replace him? I actually think Michael Laudrup fits the Arsenal remit quite well.
I thought Brendan Rodgers was a better fit than Liverpool.
Yeah, well, they both like to play the same way, but I think attracting players, Michael Laudrup has a bigger stature all throughout all of Europe,
Alex Croft is an Arsenal fan. You were there last night, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi guys, how you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Were Arsenal sensational? Did Reading sort of make them look a little better than possibly they are?
I don't know, I thought Reading kind of like a little bit, played into Arsenal's hands, and the setup, I don't love the three midfielders I like individually. Does it work? Will it win you the Premiership? Personally, I don't think so, but, I'm still very pro-Wenger.
I'm sort of still in the for Wenger camp, but you have to question some of his decisions. The situation with Theo Walcott at the moment doesn't make sense, where Wenger's saying if it was up to me, he should sign. Now, you're talking about 5 or 10 grand a week. In this day and age, that is no money whatsoever. So Wenger should say to the board, get him signed, give him his £90,000 a week. And also, you've had the situation when Song left, that he wanted to stay. He wanted a longer contract. He wanted to go on to 90 grand. And Arsene is now being more like an accountant rather than a football manager.
I do agree to a certain extent, but the truth is, Perry, as you'll know better than anyone, you'll never know what goes on behind the closed doors, and you'll never know just whether it is about 5 or 10 grand a week. That's the problem. If it is, I'm sure the board would give in and just pay the money. I mean, the fans last night were definitely singing, Wenger, sign him up, and he's our best player. He's our top goal scorer. With Walcott in the starting 11, whether it's up front on his own or on the right-hand side, automatically, psychologically, their left back is, automatically going to play a different game. And when you have someone like Ramsey or Gervinho, I think on the team sheet, the opposition are, it's a definite boost for them. I'm sure you'll agree. But I personally think there's more to it than 5 or 10 grand a week. I'm sure.
Well, Wenger, say there, Alex, because Wenger was actually asked about Theo Walcott after the game, scored a goal, played down the middle. So what did Wenger think about the situation now?
It's not my decision, it's Theo's decision as well, if it's my decision, it's quickly done.
Arsene, you lost Cesc Fabregas and Robin Van Persie when they were new.
And Nasri and Tong, and you can go on and on.
I could do, yes, but obviously how determined are you to make sure that Theo is not the next on that list?
I don't know. As always, I believe he has been educated at Southampton and at Arsenal. He has become a top-level player at Arsenal, and I hope that when he considers his future, he will consider that that's the best place for him, and that he will sign for us.
If he doesn't if he hasn't signed so far, clearly there is something more that he wants. Is it the case that he wants too much, or is it the case that you don't want to compromise on the structure that you have? Because clearly the fans, I'm sure you'll agree, deserve to see at least one player they don't want to lose stay at the club.
No. I do not want to come out on details of contract. I just say our desire and will is clear, and he knows that, and hopefully we can get to a happy end, with it. And I believe we have a good core of young English players, and we couldn't keep the good core of young foreign players, and I hope we will be capable to build a team around all these young English players who can achieve something together. I believe as well, somewhere when a club gives a chance to young players, somewhere the players must say, let's do it together, because if you educate players, at some stage the fate is in their hands, and they have to want to do it together at some stage.
Right, so there we have it from the horse's mouth, as it were. Arsene Wenger saying that it's not necessarily just up to him, it's up to the player as well. He doesn't want to go into details, but if it was his decision, purely he would say it would be finished by now, by which I'm assuming, Perry, he means he would be still an Arsenal player.
Yeah, but,
it's not as simple as this, is it?
No,
it can't
it is.
be.
No, it is. The reason it's as simple is if Arsene Wenger wants to keep Theo Walcott that badly, and we know that there's financial restraints at Arsenal, the top paid players on £90,000 a week. Now, if Theo Walcott has been offered 75, 80, and Theo's saying it's not about money, it's about where he plays, right? And Arsene said if it was down to me, he would be here. Well, I would tell you, Alex Ferguson, Mourinho, Mancini, all the top managers, if they want to keep a player, Alex Ferguson will say to the American owner at Manchester United, if he wants 150 grand a week, he's imperative we keep him, give him the money. So I think from Theo's point of view, and his advisors are actually looking at it thinking, well, how badly do you want to keep
So you don't
Theo?
think Wenger actually
I don't think he's that
wants him
bothered.
as much as he says?
No, I don't think he's that bothered. I think he sees him as a player who's a brilliant impact player coming off the bench. He can play wide right, and he's not a regular. Even though he's the top scorer at the moment, he's not in, week out, because his performances over 5 years have been quite erratic. So I don't think he's hanging his hat on Theo Walcott. I don't think he's saying, right, he's important to our future. And if his contract does run out, Man City will take him, Man United will take him, because they will buy him or take him as a specific impact player. That's
okay,
his
let's
best
get.
position.
Come to you in a second, Mark. Let's
Half
just get Alex's view on it. Who's saying what and who's not quite saying the truth, in your opinion?
I mean, it's probably a little bit of both. It's, you know, I think that with Wenger, it's just all a bit of a smokescreen. You know, with Wenger, he thinks it's so easy. Obviously, it's not. If it's about money, then, you know, you pay him what he wants. But, you know, I personally would like to see Walcott up front in a 4-4-2. You have a big man and a speed man, like you have a Giroud and Walcott. I think it's a much more balanced, set up at the top of the pitch. We don't hold the ball as well as we used to in midfield. You've got the three smaller players behind them who, you know, can they link the defence to attack like Fabregas used to? I don't think they can. And I would like to see the formation change and Walcott play up front with Giroud or someone, whoever. I think it would work better and they would complement each other better. Is Walcott good enough to play up front on his own? No, he's not that type of player. He's not a target man. But he will obviously kill anyone for pace.
But he's got a great record, Alex. When he plays sort of the traditional number 9 down the middle, he always scores.
Yeah, he does, but you'll never see him play up front on his own. You know, on a Wednesday night away to, you know, like a long ball team. You won't see
Bradford.
That. Well, Reading last night is not really a great example because they like to play with the ball on the floor. But I'm a big Walcott fan. I like Theo. I just like to see him play up front with a big target man.